Hello, welcome to Club IDIC. Tonight, we are going to be discussing Shattered Mirror from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And we are also going to be discussing the topic of a special second chance in honor of Friday the 13th. Please enjoy this meeting.
Oh, this is different.
Hello, how are you?
Ugh. So I'm in a bit of a foul mood. My internet went down. Had to spend 15, 20 minutes with the cable company trying to sort it out.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But it is Friday the 13th.
Really.
And I chose this episode because it deals with someone who you thought was gone, coming back, appearing like themselves, but not really being themselves.
Well, from my take is that basically I know he basically wanted his mother to come back from the dead,
Well,
and
he
he
never really
got
got a
his
chance.
wish for a little bit.
Well, he never really got a chance to grieve her or say goodbye because he was unconscious when that whole incident at Wolf 359 happened. He was knocked unconscious by the blasts, and he didn't wake up again until he was in a Federation hospital and heard that his mother had gone. From the novelization, I remember all children were kept home from school that day on the Saratoga because of the Borg. So he was in his quarters with his mother, and the attack came by a complete surprise. The attack
Yeah.
to their quarters. So Jake never got a moment. He was knocked unconscious. Boom, that's it. And the next thing he knows, he's waking up in a Federation hospital being told by his father, "Oh, your mother is dead. Where's the closure?" And from what I read in the novelization of Emissary, his father was like a shell, and they never really got to discuss it or have any real closure. So this is their special second chance to have some closure.
Well, I know, I'm sure, I want to say we all, but I know most people would always have a relative, like you said it yourself in the event description, somebody they would love to see again. Well, hey, I know this, I know people myself. I know my granddaddy, he died 20 years ago,
Mm.
but my thing is he's dead. Ain't nothing I could do about that. Even my mom is gonna be dead soon herself.
Oh,
Again,
I'm
beyond
sorry.
my control. But at
I
least I'm
know.
able to accept and move on. I not like Jake. Oh yeah, my family's gonna come back.
I
And
know, but Jake was young. He was suffering. He really never got to say goodbye. And then he saw this person who looked like a person he had lost. And he's like, oh my gosh, this reminder of my lost mother. It's a really chance to just go back in time and relive things that memories and update her on things that I have been doing since I had this loss. And it's just like talking to someone that I didn't get to tell all these things to. It's like becoming lost in something that isn't entirely real, but feels real enough to him.
yeah, I know you miss your mom, but that's not your mom.
I know that was Sisko's thing. He was like forcing himself to stay in reality as hard as it was for him to stay in reality. But then Jennifer upped the stakes when Mirror Jennifer and upped the stakes when she took Jake over to the mirror universe, and Sisko was forced to go revisit that history one more time.
Yeah. And I take it we're the only ones here tonight.
I'm sorry.
Why?
Because I had hoped for more. I
And I
mean,
was,
maybe
and I
this,
was going to say, you're a Comic-Con tomorrow morning,
yeah,
so I know this is not going to be much of a chat,
yeah,
but at least we're trying out the new idea of watching the movie first and then talking.
yes. It was very, very cool to see the whole mirror universe unfold right before me as I was watching it, because I watched it fairly recently, and like I watched it today, and it was very interesting to see how the humans had taken Tarek Noor for themselves. They had used the opportunity that Prime Sisko had helped them get, and they were working to keep it, and they needed his help to be able to keep it. Granted, their methods were less than honorable, but at least Smiley admitted to the fact that they were less than honorable, which is more than I'm sure Sisko expected.
Yeah. And I know people, I don't know why, Heather, why people in the Star Trek fandom love the mirror universe so much.
It's fun.
Because we've had Mirror Mirror, okay, that's one thing. And then this two-parter on DS9, if you will, with that mirror universe. And then in Star Trek Enterprise, they had a two-parter, the mirror world. And even that god-awful Discovery had the mirror universe. And if I recall, there were problems in conventions because the ISS people thought they had a license to act like idiots in front of the USS people.
Really, I was not working anywhere near that kind of thing when I was working conventions, and I've only been to a few.
Why, did that surprise you just now?
Well, I've only been to a few conventions, like, and only to like 3 specific Star Trek conventions in my whole life. I haven't seen anything of the sort.
Well, I suppose that was a 2000s thing.
Maybe
Haven't really
people have
been
mellowed
many
out.
Star Trek conventions lately.
Maybe people have mellowed out since COVID.
Yeah, I know there was no Mission Seattle for you.
No, unfortunately not. Hopefully there'll be another Vegas someday.
Well, I didn't know how they're doing Comic-Con because most of the actors are not allowed to talk about anything they've done or will do.
Oh, and that's probably going to be reality for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So how's that working for you?
Well, I have my job and I still do things, just not for money.
Really?
Yes. I don't know when my projects will be released, but I'll sure tell you.
Oh, okay.
And I also write things as well, and they're actually sci-fi things.
Right.
Yep. But we all get our special second chances don't just have to rely to people. They can also, or they don't relate just to people, they can also relate to opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
When we miss years due to circumstances beyond our control, sometimes life is kind to us and gives us things later in life that we missed because of circumstances beyond our control, you know?
Mm. Yep.
And we shouldn't hesitate to take advantage of them, no matter how scary or unusual those opportunities may seem. If we feel good about them, we should just have faith in ourselves and take the leap of faith. It's not every day we get a special second chance. And this episode was very sweet in the fact that Jake actually got the time that he needed to have closure on the loss of his mother. I know Mira Jennifer wasn't his mother, but he actually got time to understand that this person wasn't his mother, but he still got to say goodbye to her likeness, her image, the memories.
Mm.
And he did it properly, and Sisko was so frustrated with it, but there was really nothing he could do, and he couldn't really go anywhere, so he really saw no harm in it. And he's like, all right, I'm just gonna let the kid do what he wants. At this point, there's not really much I can do. I can't stop him because Jake's more stubborn than me.
Yeah, but I know Jake did grow up in season 6. Yeah, I had to look it up this week, this time, tonight's episode of season 5.
Yeah, but it was just very, very powerful to see Jake be able to have more time with her likeness, her image, and be able to let go of the memories that he really wanted to share with his mother's likeness and image. Because if not for Wolf 359, he would have had his mother, but he didn't. And just to be able to let go of things that he held on to for years was a healing process for him that he needed.
Yeah.
And the way, I don't know, did you watch it beforehand?
Yeah. Hold on a second. I can have it be right back.
All right.
All right, I'm back.
Okay. And the way it ended, it's like Sisko finally allowed himself to lose his grasp on the reality for a minute, just so he could say goodbye and share that closure with Jake, because they didn't get to do that the first time because he wasn't ready. You know, in the beginning, Sisko was worried about his son becoming lost in something that wasn't real, but when the intendant killed Mary Jennifer, Sisko realized, oh, this is all too familiar and all too real, so I'm going to let go of my fears about this situation for a minute and have this closure with Jake that I didn't get the first time because I was not ready to have it myself. Because he had to go through that whole experience with the prophets in order to find it for himself and be able to let Jennifer go himself. And because he was healed to a point, he was able to share that closure with his son. Do you have any thoughts?
Do I have any thoughts on that? Well, well, I'll say I'm thinking at this point in time, Jake was really naive. And I remember how in the opening scene, oh yay, the family is back. Yeah, well, it reminds me, I'm gonna go off topic show-wise.
That's fine.
I know you're not much of a video gamer, but if you've ever played Persona Part 5,
Never heard of it, but you can tell me all about it.
okay, well, one of the protagonists about the halfway point in that game, and one of the protagonists, young girl by the name of Futaba, and basically without getting into like the whole details of the whole plot, which would take me forever to explain, her mom died when she was young, about when she was like 10 or 11. Right, in this other world, kind of see a visage of her mom. And then, like later on in the game, like depending on whatever, but the plot goes, it's like an alternate reality again, where her mother is still alive. And she wanted to cling to that reality. Yeah, but then she had to accept it, like, I'm sorry, as much as I want my mom to come back and be with me, she's not with me anymore.
That sounds very powerful. I mean, it's like a closure, and the way that it ended with them hugging and grieving and saying, let's go home. It's like, let's go home. Let's take this closure and be done with it.
Yeah. A nice way to end the episode. If you're not laughing at the fact that alternate Worf had alternate Garrick as his pet.
I thought that was a very amusing side plot. I didn't think Worf could be that barbaric. He was very aggressive and wanting to fight and dominate everything, and that's definitely not Prime Worf at all. Because Prime Worf is very much about honor and dignity and everything that the Mirror Worf isn't. And although the Prime Worf doesn't particularly like Garrick, he tolerates him, and the Prime Worf would never put the Prime Garrick on a leash. And Garrick, as crazy as Prime Garrick is, he would never act as the Mirror Garrick would, because Garrick is very different in
Yeah,
both worlds.
but yeah, I guess that was like that had to be the hilarious part.
That was a hilarious part.
But yeah, and that's the thing. Like, let me throw this at you, Heather.
Wait a minute, especially since Klingons and Cardassians used to have an alliance in the Mirror universe. That's the most ironic part.
Yep. Well, you know what happened? Alternate Spock preached peace. Earth weakened. Everybody else jumped Earth.
Don't forget that Spock married Marlena Moreau after assassinating Mayor Kirk.
I did not read that book.
But then everything weakened and Spock and Marlena were executed. It's in the Apocrypha. Anyway, what do you want to throw at me?
Who would you want to resurrect?
You know, the relatives that I really didn't get to know very well because I was very young when they died.
Mm-hmm.
Probably on my grandparents on my mom's side, my grandfather that I didn't know, I never met, and my grandmother, and maybe my grandpa on my dad's side because I liked him. He was very cool. Yeah. So who would you?
Well, I don't even think about that, to be honest.
Well, you asked the question, and now you get to give the answer.
Fair enough. Well, I mentioned my granddad earlier in this session.
That's awesome. I imagine he was as sweet as you are.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, here's a question for you. If there was a mirror universe and we had access to it, who would you want to be over there? Since we're in the
No.
mirror universe. What? What?
Is it easy one to answer? No.
Am I going to answer or are you going to answer?
I'm not going there, Heather. It sucks over there. Everything's all weird and stuff. You having to learn a different history and trying to figure out, what I'm what I'm gonna wear over there.
Um,
Kind of like going to a convention in another country, but you just don't know anything about it. You know what I mean? And it did not make any sense just now, did I?
I don't know why, but I think you'd be an entertainment mogul.
Hmm.
In a fancy suit, which I've seen pictures of you in
Right.
suits, and you look very nice. And you'd be literally just very rich and very powerful and traveling to Italy all the time and Paris and having all these parties and
Hmm.
in tons of photos with very important people and just making peace through your work.
Right. Is there an alternate realm where you're not a Mormon?
I don't know, but I would try to be a peacemaker.
Okay, so what if you met the mirror version of you and the mirror version of you cursed you out? What then?
I'd probably accept it. Because I even cursed my past self out.
Hmm.
Because I used to be like the kind of person I don't like. And I suppose a past self can be a mirror self in a way. You know, if I don't even like my past self, so I don't think I'd like my mirror self very much. But that's an unusual thing to say, I know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so what do you think, since we have so little knowledge, like what do you think happened between Deep Space Nine, like timeline wise, and Discovery? Why do you think the mirror universe went so quiet? I mean, we know it still existed, despite the contrary.
Well, let's see if they can fix, well, they've resolved the writer's strike. Let's see if we can get the actor's strike
Oh,
resolved.
it's going to take a while since
There you
the
go.
studios have walked away from the table. But
All
I mean,
right.
despite the humans being very hostile in the mirror universe, they are working very hard together to achieve a common goal of getting rid of the KCA, the Klingon Cardassian alliance, and keeping
Okay.
Deep Space Nine for themselves.
Yeah.
They're well organized. So I suppose they see their second chance. I suppose they see their second chance at freedom as precious, so they're just taking full advantage of preserving it. They're just not being lazy, you know, because here's the thing. As
Right.
much as I don't like to diss Kirk, because I thought he was cool, like, honestly, he was very complacent. He didn't do very much to keep hold of his ideals. He allowed Spock, who he knew was physically stronger and smarter if he wanted to be, overpower people and impose his ideals, impose Vulcan ideals on people and wipe out something that was very organized. But
Well, then again, keep in mind the writers of the time were not expecting a franchise to spring forth.
still, Mirror Spock, like Spock allowed, like Mirror Spock and Marlena Moreau allowed organization to fall in the hands of chaos, and chaos overtook the mirror universe. And it took so many years before they managed to organize themselves into a second chance.
Yeah. Well, again, depends on the writers giving that universe a second chance,
Mm-hmm.
and a third chance, and a fourth chance.
Yes, but it just seems so chaotic when we revisit it in Discovery, and I don't know why it seems so chaotic. It seems less organized than in Deep Space Nine.
Well, I know, I guess people like to see, I don't know, I guess with that discovery thing, just looking at Giorgio and Tilly in steel plate armor.
Well, no, here's the thing, like everybody is assassinating everybody at every turn instead of finding a use, like people are eating servants. That's just really odd.
Well, so much for your second chance in that case.
It's like I don't see the value in eating servants when they could be used as spies.
To serve man, it's a cookbook.
You're a Narnia fan.
That was from Twilight Zone. I couldn't care
That's
less
from the
about the
Chronicles of
Chronicles of
Narnia.
Narnia.
But it's like instead of just killing and eating servants, like you can use them as spies. And so, like, whenever there is a special second chance or a second chance and an opportunity, we should really take advantage of it. Don't you agree?
Well, it has its good, has its upsides and its downsides.
Well, I mean, there are things that would prove harmful to us, but if an opportunity comes that we missed or was out of our reach because of circumstances beyond our control, and the time is right and circumstances are right for us to explore it again, why not?
Well, I don't know about you, but I've reconciled with my reality. No, my granddad's dead. He ain't coming back. My mom's about to be dead. She won't be coming back anytime after that. So just best to get on with it. You know, that's how I see things. I can only speak for myself, but
Again, I did say that a special second chance isn't just limited to people.
well, there was probably a reason why I didn't have a first chance.
I don't know. But, if an opportunity comes our way again that was lost because of circumstances beyond our control, because here's the thing, like, we can't always control that. Like, sometimes we can and sometimes we can't, but if things happen beyond our control and we get a special second chance, we should take it. I'll even give you an example. I was like inquiring about how to volunteer at Star Trek Las Vegas in 2014. I had the paperwork, I was asking questions, I was going to do it. And then all of a sudden, my biological father got ill with cancer. And I was like, oh, I have to stay home and help take care of him and such. I had to say, I'm sorry, I have to pull out of the application process. There was the first chance. But fortunately, another opportunity came along in 2016 and 2017. So there was a special second chance. And I was able to go. That's what I mean when sometimes the first chance is gone by circumstances beyond our control, and sometimes we get that special second chance. You know?
Okay.
And that's a case where it is safe to take it and it won't hurt us in any way. And we should only take advantage of special second chances if they're not going to hurt our current circumstances.
Mm.
That's what I mean. Now, knowing all this, I mean, if you had a special second chance at something, what would you choose it to be?
Hmm. Well, if I had $1 for every time I screwed up something in my life, I would be visiting London right now. And yes, I say that because I despise all tropical climates.
Well, London's nice. Well, that's what it is then. Like, don't be afraid of special second chances just because they might seem scary. I mean, Jake wasn't afraid, and although it may have seemed like a dangerous situation, he got the closure he needed from it. Because sometimes, special second chances give us closure that we needed. It may not lead to success or prosperity for us, but it sometimes can give us closure that we desperately need that we didn't get the first time we faced an opportunity or something similar. And
Okay.
closure's a good thing. We may not, find success or joy or long-term happiness, but closure will help us to find forgiveness and peace within ourselves, because circumstances are quite often beyond our control, but special second chances can help us to understand circumstances and ourselves and other people better as well. And we can learn to say, hey, maybe certain things weren't our faults and we thought they were, and maybe certain things can be buried, and that's okay.
Hmm.
Like they allow us self-forgiveness and allow us to release a lot of things that we didn't otherwise get a chance to release. Such
Wow.
is the case with Jake. Ever since his mother died, he probably carried all these emotions about, I didn't even get to say goodbye, and I've got no mother to tell these wonderful things that are going on in my life. And he was already grieving from not going off to Starfleet Academy, because you remember the opening scene where
Yeah.
he got flack from Odo and Quark for grieving so much. And then he stormed off to his quarters, and then he saw Mira Jennifer, and he's like, oh, there's my special second chance. I know my mother is dead, but here's someone with her likeness, someone I can share these things with, and someone that will allow me to find closure on these things that I never got to have closure on.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times we don't find closure, but when those special second chances come, that we might find a little closure and self-forgiveness and inner peace, we should take them as long as they don't disrupt our current lives.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah.
So I don't really have much to say further.
Yeah. Does that all make sense to you? Do you like what was said?
Huh?
Did that all make sense to you? And do you like what was said?
Oh, it was pretty good. Just
Yeah.
explore the topic. So you think you're gonna try this again next time?
Huh?
Are you going to try this again for the next time you want to run a discussion forum? Have people watch the TV show first and then talk? Or have the initial chatter pause for an hour and then resume?
I don't know. I'll think about it. Just because I wanted to listen to the suggestion and show that I could be a good listener to ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And, I in the past haven't been a very good listener, and I've been accused of not being a good listener to members, and I'm sorry for that. And this is my special second chance to show that I can be a good listener to those who give me suggestions. So I'm sorry for the way I've been, and I hope that I've proven that I'm capable of listening and caring.
Okay.
With that,
Okay.
I give you proof that I've listened. And I just, if you ever have a special second chance and it doesn't harm your current life, take it and find closure from whatever part of your life that it addresses, and find no shame in it.
Huh.
Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
wish me luck with that, Heather.
I mean, I'm not saying you have to do it, but it might be helpful. Because, I'll tell you a story, short story, I
Okay.
promise. Like, there's a lot of things, a lot of anger I had towards my biological father when he was alive that we couldn't discuss because he was so impaired by alcohol a lot of the time. So I just kept them inside of me, and then he died. And then a couple of years later, I got the opportunity to spread his ashes by myself. So I took them out to this little area near this lake where we lived, and before I took them down for spreading, I sat on this hill and turned on my camera and recorded this video of me saying things about how I loved him and how I was sad for the choices he made. And very heartfelt things that just allowed me to be free of the anger. And I gave him forgiveness, and I gave myself forgiveness for a lot of things. And I gave myself that special second chance to heal from
Yeah, I
closure that
figured
wasn't
that.
there. So special second chances that we give ourselves, that we allow ourselves when they come forth.
So what happens when the second chance ends up like the first chance?
Well, then you've done all you can. And it's okay to let it go. Or if you feel like it might end up like the first chance, it's okay to let it go for your own peace and serenity. Yeah, but you can trust your instincts and assess the situation. And if you don't feel good about taking a second chance, that's okay. You don't have to do it. It's all about how you feel when a second opportunity comes up that deals with something that you may have left behind early in your life or something like that, you know? If you just want to let it go, that's okay. But, you know, this episode was about the Siskos getting closure on something they really didn't get closure on. They weren't able to do that because, well, 359 was very chaotic. And according to the novelization, Benjamin Sisko was but a shell. And he wasn't able to really talk to Jake because he wasn't healed himself. He had to heal himself and learn how to deal with the life that he had waiting for him on Deep Space Nine before he could share the closure with Jake that they both desperately needed.
Yeah, but then again, I know there's no second chances on DS9 because, for one thing, Avery Brooks has gone into hiding.
Oh, I know he's a really good actor, so that's a shame. That's a real shame, you know. I mean, people aren't as forgiving. I mean, whatever he's done, he's not unworthy of love or forgiveness, whatever he's done.
No, I thought you would say that about Robert Beltran, the guy that played Chakotay, because his thing is up in flames because of supposedly, correct me if I'm wrong, comments he made about the gay community.
You know, my thought is that if I'm going to condemn people, I should start with myself and look in the mirror because I've just, you know, I used to be very socially ignorant and I used to just be very aggressive and angry because of my home situation. If I'm going to condemn people, I should start with myself and my angry past.
Is this a religious teaching or just
No,
something you do?
this is just something I do. I used to just be a very, very unhappy, very cruel person to myself. And I just, you know, if I don't forgive others, then why am I forgiving myself for my past? Why do I bother? I just try to be nice and kind, and I don't worry about others and their thoughts on people. I just worry about myself and how I feel about other people and myself. And I know that's a really odd position to be in, but I have to look myself in the mirror every day. And it's not my job to worry about other people, you know? That's my special second chance to myself, is focusing wholly on myself and not really worrying about what others think of things that go on. I don't want to worry about other people's drama. I just want to worry about myself. And being as good a person as I can be towards myself and towards others. And that is my special second chance to myself, and letting go of my anger and my self-hate and my hate towards life is also my special second chance to myself. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. I don't know if you respect it, but that's what it is.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. It is what it is. Because you are Heather and I'm Kronos here.
You're an adorable Kronos. You really are. You have an adorable heart, Kronos. Anyway, you look so tired.
Yeah. because I have to be up early tomorrow morning.
Well, then we should end this so you can go to bed.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for spending time with me, Captain Kronos.
All right, Heather, you're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed our discussion and you got to know me a little better and my thoughts a little better, and I hope I still have your respect.
Okay.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for joining this meeting. Live long and prosper.